Yo, what's good guys? This is Nightwing2303 from WareTesters.com. Today we have the performance review on the Li-Ning Way of Wade 4. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, DailyMVP. For those of you that don't know what DailyMVP is, basically it's fantasy in a flash, offering multiple quick play games in football, basketball, hockey, and baseball. It's really easy to use, so whether you're a fantasy pro or you're a fantasy newbie like me, then anybody can play, as long as you're above the age of 18. It's also mobile friendly, so if you're not stuck at work just messing around with a computer, you can whip out your phone and play it on the app. So you can enjoy a fully responsive fantasy experience, whether you're on desktop or on the go with any mobile device. There are two ways to play, Throwdowns and MVP mode. In Throwdowns, you could battle head to head with a friend or with a new challenger. Simply pick 3 players and start playing. In MVP mode, DailyMVP will pick the projections and you pick the players that you believe will exceed them. Whether they're star players or scrubs, your goal is not to find the best player, but today's MVP. So if you're interested in playing, all you gotta do is visit DailyMVP.com, check out all the official rules. It's fast, it's fun, it's great for newbies or the seasoned pros of playing fantasy sports. So with all that being said, let's get into the performance. So as usual, start off with the bottom of the shoe here. And personally, I felt that the traction on the D-Wade 3s was slightly better than the D-Wade 4s. That's not really taking anything away from these guys here. What I mostly would have liked to have seen is just the translucent sections replaced with the solid rubber sections, mostly because after numerous wears, I'm talking like I wore these for almost 2 weeks already, the more that I would wear them, the more dust ended up becoming a problem for this part of the rubber versus this part. Now as long as you keep up with your wipes, you're going to be perfectly fine, so don't worry about it or anything. It's not horrible. It's just a very tiny nitpick that I wish that it was just all solid rubber, and you know, you can't really blame me. Now one of the highlights to the traction was actually the pivot point here. This section is where I put a lot of my force or my pressure when I'm moving, and when there was times when I was unable to wipe just because you're kind of like in the middle of the gameplay, this section was able to grip the floor just enough and just long enough to where it would last you throughout that play, and then you would be able to wipe right after it was done. So I really like this. It helped out quite a bit, especially if this area started to get affected too much. But again, overall I thought that the Wade 3s had a little bit more I guess consistent traction, but the Wade 4s, you're going to get the job done no problem. It's a really good setup. Just a tiny little setback is just make sure that you keep up with that wipes to keep this stuff clean. So with the cushion, Li-Ning is using their bounce and cushion technologies again. Basically they have a pad in the heel as well as a pad in the forefoot of different density foam than the rest of the midsole, which is basically its carrier. So this midsole here is firm and supportive, while the 2 pads that are located in the heel and forefoot are a little bit softer, and each one of them has a different feel. The bounce obviously has a little bit of bounce back, whereas the cushion just absorbs impact. It's not the most responsive ride or anything as far as like real bounciness underneath your feet, but I find them to be pretty comfortable, especially as a grounded player. You'll get enough cushion to aid you through the night of on-court activities, even though it's not the best cushion foam. So overall, I'd pretty much give it like that kind of in-between cushion. It basically gives you just enough without going above and beyond anything. Gone are the days when the Wade line used premium leathers, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I've been saying this for a while now, but my favorite material to play in next to leather is a really good mesh or knit/woven. And guess what these got? Yeah, they got mesh. Awesome. With mesh uppers or knitted and all that kind of stuff, fabricy uppers, you're gonna have a lot less break-in time required, which I think is nice. It feels really great around your foot, especially if they get that fit and locked down right. Now usually with the downside of having material that soft is that you'll lose a little bit of support. However, Li-Ning countered all of that by implementing a base layer of support, which is comprised of fuse. This isn't the best colorway to showcase this, but basically there's fuse rands around the toe. You can see it right here along the eye stay. These flaps here are synthetic leather, and those go all the way down into the footbed here, all of which is just kind of like making a really nice wrap around your foot. So you have all of these supportive features, and then you just have a bunch of mesh on top of it, almost like there's a skeleton and then skin. It feels great, it works great, you can't complain about it. If you're not going to go leather, this is the way to go. Now as far as their fit, they fit true to size. Wide footers, there's not really a place for you to go try them on, unfortunately, unless you live overseas in China or you happen to live in Miami, where there's I think it's called the Edition Boutique, where they have these actually in store. But again, they fit absolutely true to size, and the material is soft, so you might get away with going with your true size. If all else fails, do what you normally do, which is typically go up half a size. Now as far as lockdown is concerned, once I'm laced up in these guys, my foot's not going anywhere. This is one of the nicest shoes that I have right now. The Curry 2s were a great one-to-one fit, but at times it can feel like it was suffocating you. This is just like a perfect fit without the suffocation. Like I said earlier in the material section, you have all of these extra layers both underneath and on top of the mesh, so you're just kind of like enveloped in greatness basically. So these things really lock you in. They go all the way down to the footbed. Each one is differently placed. So this one right here keeps you locked in the heel, whereas this one locks you onto the midfoot, and then this one keeps you on the forefoot section. And just in case you needed just a bit of extra support, they got it right here on the medial side as well, keeping that ankle area intact, guaranteed. Out of all the Wade signatures that I've played in, and I've played in them all, this is the best fitting one by far, and it's also the best performing. Now as far as support, they really don't look like they offer too much, but it's got exactly what you need. The base of the shoe or platform is nice and flat, and when you have a setup like that, it just promotes additional stability. You got a shank plate for torsional support, and this time it doesn't get in the way. Now they don't feature like a traditional outrigger or anything like this, but this is actually how I prefer the midsole to be shaped, where you do have an outrigger, but it's more in line with the design, where the midsole extends past the footbed, which you could probably view a little bit better right here, so you can just see where it comes out just enough, so it's not giving you any instability issues whatsoever. And then once again, that fit and lacing system pretty much takes care of the rest, and it does a really great job of it. And you also have a traditional heel counter, which is made of TPU, but what I like about this one is that it extends up through the midfoot, so this just kind of reinforces what the straps do and make sure that your foot never slides off the footbed. So while they don't look like much, this is probably one of the more supportive shoes without being restrictive. So overall, I really love these things. While the cushion definitely could use some work, like I said earlier, their bounce and cushion systems, while they were great in past Li-Ning models, and I'm talking about the Li-Ning Turning Point, this is years ago, the stuff that we've experienced with all four Wades have been a little bit on the firm side. So I'd like to see them mess with the densities just a tad bit, to where they kind of soften the load up a little bit, maybe give you a little bit more spring in your step, add some rubber or something like that within the foam itself. But other than that, every other attribute on these guys was badass. So if you wanted a dope hoop shoe that was just out of the norm, you want to take a small step outside your normal comfort zone, this is the way to start. Li-Ning Way of Wade 4, way better than last year's. Last year's was the worst performance shoe, not only of the year, but probably of like the last 3 years. And this guy here is in my top 5. Much improved, great job. I think that they did an awesome job this year. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all your support. If you guys have played in the Way of Wade 4, let me know in the comment section below. And until next time guys, have a good one.